Welcome to the Business is War podcast. My name is Elliott Forman, and today our special guest is Constable Edwin Shorty, who is also a candidate for sheriff of the city of New Orleans. Welcome, and thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me, brother. It's good to see you.
The pleasure is all mine. So listen, obviously the sheriff's office is in a bit of a challenge right now. This is one of the more challenging times in the history of our city. Would you say that?
Yes, sir. I would agree.
Okay, and so you decided to come out of your law practice and out of being a constable for the city in order to, put your name in a hat and take your shot at getting this job and doing it the way that you see is actually fit for the city of New Orleans, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, well, let's talk about it. What's going on over there?
Well, look, I think if anyone's watched what happened at the city council meeting, beside the fact that 10 folks ran out the front door and they're
11.
releasing 10 ran out the front door, and then they released an individual who should not have been released in January. Then they did the same thing again about a month or so ago. They've got budgetary problems. They've got structural problems with the construction of the facility. So it's a bit of a disaster, but I think it's a fixable disaster.
Okay.
With the right knowledge base and understanding of how budgeting goes from the city standpoint and from the state standpoint, I think these issues can be addressed.
Let me ask you, what actually happened? Did we just get a little worse over time, or was this just a situation where the paint came off of the can, so to speak?
I think systemically, they have not done basic corrections work and allowed inmates to deface and destroy the building. And over time, that caused a number of malfunctions in the building, which allowed them to then escape.
Okay. All right. So aside from the safety issues, the public concern for safety, you're saying that financially the house is in disarray, and operationally we need a revisit as to what we got to get back to the basics.
Look, there are a number of things that have gone wrong, and some of these are self-inflicted wounds. And there has been a thought process that, we need to limit the number of beds because you fear a for-profit jail system, when in reality the jail has to make money, otherwise it can't function. And you don't want all of that money to be on the taxpayers of the citizens, the city of New Orleans. So there are ways to diversify that income, and we have not done a good job of diversifying that income such that it's sustainable. So that's one of your big problems.
So what is the budget, the annual budget?
Annual budget's about $60 million.
Okay, and for $60 million?
And $20 million of that is medical.
For $60 million, I'm pretty sure I can keep everybody in line if you gave me a big enough house. Would you say that that's the thought process that most citizens have?
I would agree.
And is that an accurate assessment, or is $60 million maybe not enough?
I think what you've got to do is really do the things that you can do, the things that you have some control over, to increase revenue from other places. I think $60 million is what you're going to get from the citizens in New Orleans. If you want to do additional things, then you've got to look at both your state partners and your federal partners to see how can I get additional revenue from those partners. And that's something I think we failed miserably at doing. And you've got a consent decree that you haven't worked your way out of, which costs you $500,000 a year just to monitor.
And when it's bad, everything is bad.
When it's bad, everything falls apart.
So that $500,000 consent decree is obviously causing a problem, and it just like it continues to bleed. But I think for me, is there a public safety concern for the city of New Orleans?
Significant public safety concern. Look, this is a tourism city. This is a place that we want to sell and tell everyone around the world, come to our city. Worst thing in the world for tourism is to have 10 people run out of the jail, 10 very bad people run out of the front door of your jail, and then say, oh, we still got a few on the loose. And then we're releasing the wrong people. And then the facility says, well, we've got a water problem and we can't fix the water problem, so we can't even take care of the people who are currently in our care, custody, and control.
Mr. Shorty, that makes me feel bad because we're talking about one of the bricks by which this city is built upon, and it needs to be done right. And so what does the leadership have to say today when it comes to the State of the Union?
I think the leadership today wants to blame everyone but their own leadership.
Yeah.
And I think that shows you that we've got to have a change. Look, true leadership is about taking responsibility.
That's
taking responsibility when something goes bad, and when something's good, then you share that good stuff with your staff. You spread that love to everyone. But when something goes bad, you own it. And we have failed to own what has happened and tried to shirk that responsibility on everyone else except the top leadership.
Well, that's very disappointing, because one thing I don't like is people that run for the job, get the job, and then they don't do anything with the responsibility. I feel like that's political language 101. I think they learn that in the first year of political science if they go to college for it. I really do struggle with, the fact that our situation is as bad as it is. Is the current leadership seeking re-election or not?
Yes, she is seeking re-election.
Okay, all right, cool. I like the audacity more than anything. My next question is, what brought you to the decision that you wanted to run for sheriff?
I made this decision well before individuals were running out the front door. And my main issue was, it's a couple of things. One, I thought we could use the sheriff's office budget as an engine of economic development in this city.
Please explain that. How do we take the jail's money and make more money?
Look, you got a $60 million budget, and you've had people who are in control who don't understand how to make the dollar circulate in this community. It makes a difference when you say, hey, look, I've got a local garage that I want to use to maintain my vehicles. I've got a local uniform shop that we're going to buy uniforms from. It makes a difference when you use local and those dollars circulate, because then if you understand economics, you realize that that small business can then pitch for bigger business from other municipal entities because they've got a book of business with a large entity. So that's one thing I saw that wasn't happening. The other thing, I'm primarily a civil attorney. And from the standpoint, everyone focuses on the jail. They say the jail is the big issue that gets everyone's attention. But the jail is not the overriding responsibility of the sheriff. You've got other responsibilities. One is to also provide security for the courts. Okay. Two is to make sure that we merge sheriffs right after Katrina.
I heard that. So yeah. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
So we used to have a civil sheriff and a criminal sheriff.
That's correct.
The criminal sheriff dealt with all of the criminal matters, dealt with the criminal court and the jail. The civil sheriff dealt with making sure foreclosures were done, making sure subpoenas came out of the courthouse on 421 Loyola, and making sure all of the civil work was done. The civil side has been badly mismanaged. And I see that every day as a civil attorney, because, I think the thing that most people could relate to is those are the folks who get the papers and they got to go serve the papers. Well, the papers aren't getting served timely. And that impacts you as a business owner doing litation, because that makes your call.
Does that fall under the same leadership of sheriff? Civil sheriff and criminal sheriff fall under, and jail the jail all under the same title of sheriff?
That's correct. Wow. All of that is under one roof. And that is the management. The same person who let the folks out of the jail is the same person who's managing, issuing subpoenas, handling foreclosures, and that sort of thing.
Well, I vote that we get somebody new, because if it ain't working, I'm definitely not going to give you any additional time to fix it, because at this point right now, we've lost in every possible way when it comes to it. So what do you feel is the first thing that you would do if you were to, if we gave you the star, the badge, what would you do?
I think the first thing is to audit the books. Then I think audit would be the only other term that you would say to check the facility. The facility's got to have a top to bottom check to figure out where the camera's deficient, where the lock's broken, where the lapses in security in the physical plant of the building. I also hear that there are issues with the water treatment systems for the building. You've got to have an understanding of what's going on with that, come up with some numbers, and then realistically, you're going to have to go to your federal and state partners to say, we're going to need additional revenue to fix these holes. Because the citizens of the city of New Orleans have said twice, I don't want to pay any more money.
Right.
And they've rejected taxes twice, and then they barely passed a tax renewal. So that last vote was a tax renewal. If they'd have lost that vote, that'd have been a $13 million hit.
Now, do you feel like the citizens of New Orleans are educated enough to know what they're voting no to? Now, it's easy. It's a knee-jerk reaction for me to say no new taxes, because I feel there's a misappropriation somewhere, anywhere. Okay? Most people understand that, but do we really know what we're voting no to when it comes to a raise in taxes? And remember, a lot of times what happens in Washington is that they'll layer the tax inside of other things, other special interest projects and things of that nature.
I think our citizenry understood what they were voting no to. And in my mind, it was a rejection more of the policies of the current administration than anything else. If your entire platform is about increasing the quality of life for inmates, and you've got somebody who's on a fixed income and they're struggling to make their mortgage payment, they're struggling because their property taxes are too high, they're struggling because their property insurance rates are too high, and you say, oh yeah, my main purpose is to provide tablets to inmates, or to reduce the cost of inmate phone calls, or to make sure that
Is that even something we can do? Because everybody knows the horror stories that it's $12 a minute to call from jail. And I don't think you need a person any more in your lifetime than when you're incarcerated and you're at the mercy of the state.
Look, I think there are things that you can do to help reduce the cost of the calls. Obviously, there are folks making a lot of money off the cost of the calls, but the idea, the idea that we're going to make the calls free is, I think, something that a lot of people would have a problem for.
I don't agree with free, but I definitely agree with non-tax commission based, misappropriation and bad news. I mean, because we should not be breaking families and doing things like that when people get on the wrong side of the fence. But I will say this though, I do believe that we lack in the rehabilitation. $20 million, which is a third of the budget, you're saying goes to medical.
Yes.
And can I be honest with you? I think that the majority of the people that are in jail have some sort of a medical need or an issue.
Look, the population of the jail is no different than the population of folks who are walking around. Everyone's got a concern. It's not just mental health concerns. A lot of people are on high blood pressure medication, high cholesterol medication. You just want to make sure there's a continuity of care. If the individual is incarcerated and they have medication that they need to take daily, you want to make sure that they get the medication that they need.
Now, is that happening though?
It should be happening. I can't tell you the consistency with which it is happening, but I do believe that the current administration's focus has been on the mental health care of individuals who are incarcerated. And I don't want to say that like it's a bad thing, but I do think there becomes an unreasonable expectation. Like right now, if you have a mental health crisis, unless you say you're suicidal, it's pretty hard to get seen by a psychiatrist or a psychologist unless you're really in crisis.
Right.
But folks expect a higher level of care for individuals who are incarcerated than folks who are walking around on the street. And you just got to be realistic about the laxes that we have in our health system, and don't believe that just because you're incarcerated, you're going to get top quality care. You're going to get care, but there is a limit to the type and quality of care that can be provided inside the jail. We just have to be realistic about that.
The reason this touches home for me, and I'll tell you why, because I have a first cousin that died in incarceration from his inability to breathe, because once you put those handcuffs on people and you put them in a confined space, it gets a little bit challenging, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely.
And so when I'm as we're having this conversation, I'm thinking I lost a less than 30-year-old cousin because he couldn't put his arms behind him, and it wasn't working.
Well, but see, so some of that goes to training, not necessarily medical care. That becomes almost a, look, I need the deputy or the police officer to recognize when someone's in medical distress and provide care, not just ignore them. Those are some of the same things that we've seen across the country when folks are sitting on someone, restricting their breathing. That is a training issue. And you've got to have medical care available to make sure there's that continuity. If somebody's on bipolar medication, if they don't take the medication as prescribed, then the result of weaning you off the medication will be suicidal ideations.
You better believe it.
So we want to make sure that you get the medication that you need. But a lot of this is just not being done timely or to the quality and care that will get us out of the consent decree, because that's a lot of what the consent decree talks about. It talks about providing adequate medical care, and if there's a use of force, making sure that we document the use of force. If we were doing that correctly, then we'd be out of the consent decree.
Okay, let's talk about it. Training. How do you better prepare the staff of the sheriff's office to handle the issues that are going to continuously come as a part of the job?
So training is a component, but staffing is the major component. You can do all the training in the world, but if you don't have adequate staff, then the people that you've got can't handle the jobs that they've got before them. So if they fear for their safety, if they feel that you're not going to protect them as the sheriff, then you can't hire anybody because nobody wants to work for you. And once you change that culture and you tell folks, I'm going to protect you, not to say that the safety of an inmate is not important to me, correct, but the safety of my deputy is paramount to me. That is the most important. And I'm going to be more concerned with your safety. Then if you feel safe, then you can make sure that the inmates are safe.
Okay.
And training is a component of that.
Yes.
We've got to make sure that you're adequately trained. But if you're all by yourself and you don't have backup, then
okay. Let's address that.
Yeah.
So what's the current staff number, and what's an ideal staff number?
They've got about 450 and they're short 200.
What?
Yeah.
Like that's you're saying they need almost half more.
They need a significant number. So when I worked there, though, there were special programs. And my plan is to reinstitute some of the programs that they had when I worked there, because I worked my way through undergrad in the jail.
Okay.
And so one of the programs was for college students. There was a part-time program that allowed college students to work there. I can tell you one thing, college students aren't going to do anything crazy. They're going to have the training. They want to go, they want to better their lives, so they're not going to get in. For the most part, I would expect college students to behave themselves as deputies.
Okay.
The other portion of that is they had an about-face program, which allowed individuals who were stationed here in the military to also work in the jail on a part-time basis. I think you reinstitute that program. They're on 12-hour shifts. 60 to 70% of that workforce is female. Now, if you allow some flexibility with your hours, if you allow some part-time or some flex scheduling, you may be able to recruit more individuals who say, I would like to work there, but I can't do a 12-hour shift because I got kids and I want to drop the kids off at school, or I want to pick the kids up from school. I want to do something with the family life, but 12-hour shift every day may not allow me to do that. So if you reinstitute some of those programs and allow some flexibility on scheduling, I think it becomes more attractive to individuals and you can actually recruit more folks to work in the jail.
So when I was in the Navy, we were 12 on and 12 off, and it was called port and starboard. Are you saying that you would try to go a 3-day shift?
No. In my mind, what I would do is you keep the 12-hour shift, but you've got some people who are working on a part-time basis that allows some flex scheduling. Mm-hmm. So maybe you can't do 12 hours, but you can do an 8-hour shift. You know, I'd have to really look at it, and I'm open to doing something flexible that allows for recruitment. But in my mind, we do more part-time or shorter hour stints. You may still qualify for full-time, but the 12-hour shift may be difficult for a lot of individuals.
It's difficult for most people because most people cannot just disappear for 12 hours a day.
In the jail, no phone, no contact.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that right there alleviates a considerable number of people who would potentially want to maybe work in that capacity.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So I know the struggles of the labor force because I see it every day in small business. Mm-hmm. And you're telling me that as a major municipality, almost, I would say, that, you know, staffing is still an issue. Is AI coming for any of those jobs?
You know, I'm assuming at some point AI could come for some of those jobs, but some of that is really labor intensive. I mean, you've got to have people on hand to be able to provide medical care in an emergency, to be able to stop violent actions. I have heard references to some AI type things being used in some facilities, but I don't know how close we are to that.
Yeah. Okay. So what can the sheriff's office do to have a more engaging and respectful appearance in the community?
I think one of the things that we have to do is we all know our problems with the New Orleans Police Department being shorthanded. Mm-hmm. And I'm not throwing shade on NOPD. They're just shorthanded, and we realize that. I think to the degree that the sheriff's office can assist the New Orleans Police Department, and my thought is to assist them with traffic stops. We know no one's getting stopped, no one's issuing tickets in this city. People are running red lights. People are driving with no insurance. They're driving recklessly. to the degree we can have the sheriff's office assist with that, I think that helps reduce crime and that helps take NOPD off of things and let them focus on more violent issues. The state police are doing a great job in the city. But what happens if the governor says, I'm taking away Troop NOLA? I got folks in Opelousas or Alexandria that need state police. I can't have a dedicated troop down here constantly. You don't know when that's going to happen, and at some point they may say, we need the sheriff's office, harbor police, or levee board to assist the New Orleans Police Department. We're not just going to rely on state police. So those are one of the things that I think you can have folks in the community see and say, that's our sheriff's office working to protect us.
Okay.
The other thing I think we can do is there was a time when inmates would do community service work in our community. I was just
getting ready to ask that. Why are they not doing cleanups? Why are they not after each and every Mardi Gras doing cleanups? You know, the nonviolent offenders that is. And, you know, why are we not getting free labor from people who are on the dime of the city anyway?
Look, I think there's a way to do that. I think for those individuals who are on pretrial confinement, you can't force them to do anything, but you can ask for volunteers to do some work. And my experience is when folks are sitting in jail for 24 hours a day, they're looking for an excuse to get out.
Yeah,
they're
go
looking
cut some grass.
Give me a reason to get out. I think you want to have them tear down blighted property. I think you want to have them clean up those areas where folks have been dumping trash in our community.
You got my vote. Listen to me. That is absolutely what I'm talking about, because that's reallocation of resources.
And you can train them. That is a workforce development program. While you're providing educational programs, you can provide GED programs, you can provide all types of educational programs. If I give you solid workforce experience, if I say, I'm gonna have you drive the truck that cleans out the storm drains so that the streets don't flood, then maybe when you get out of jail, if you're interested, we already trained you how to do that, the city of New Orleans can hire you. If I have a construction manager walking with you as we tear down blighted property, then you have an understanding of some of the construction trades, and I can help you with that, and you can get a job in the construction trades. If we engage Delgado and get you some HVAC or plumbing training, then maybe you can get hired to do that once you're released from jail. But all of that has to go hand in hand with actual workforce experience.
Listen to me, and now you're talking about budget.
Yeah.
And resources and programs that actually do work. Now, everybody knows that the government is notorious for having pork belly level of programs that just don't work. Mm-hmm. And so I like that idea. I think that that's something that we should really take a look at. Okay, so what's the how long until the actual election takes place?
Actual election is October the 11th.
Okay.
So we're coming up on it fast.
Yeah, it is coming fast.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And so if you had to make a pitch for the job right now, mm-hmm. Mr. Edwin Shorty, why are you the most qualified for the sheriff's position?
I'm a lawyer who's been practicing 20 years. I'm a Southern University at New Orleans graduate. I'm a Southern Law graduate. I've been on the board of Southern University since 2018, so I understand higher education. I understand budgeting from the city standpoint. I used to work in the state Senate when I was in law school, so I understand state budgeting processes. I have a relationship with all of our state legislators, our congressional leaders, and our city council. So I understand how to get the money from all of those three entities, and I understand what it takes to bring valid educational programs to bear. I worked in the jail when I was an undergrad, so I understand what the needs of the facility are. I think I bring a unique perspective to that position, and I'm asking for your vote.
I believe that you deserve it. Now, you do live in the Orleans parish that you are looking to share for, correct?
Yes, I do.
The reason I'm asking is because I don't want you to have an apartment and you live in another place and you're calling it home and you're trying to do the commute thing. So you are legitimately here.
I am legitimately in the city of New Orleans.
Invested in this city.
Invested in it. I'm not going anywhere.
Listen, then
my business is not going anywhere. I've run my business in this city since 2003.
Okay.
So I'm here.
Raised your family here?
Raised my family here.
Graduated from high school here?
Yes. Graduated from Lawless, 95.
I think that's very important that the person who would manage such an arm of responsibility would probably be invested in the community and from this community and understands it. I commend you for your effort, for putting yourself out there, because, evil flourishes when good men do nothing. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like there's got to be a change. It's time for it. And I think that you're probably the guy for the job, and I wish you all the luck.
Well, thank you, brother. I really appreciate you saying that.
Stopping by. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Business is War episode with Mr. Edwin Shorty. He has given us a complete and thorough, comprehensive breakdown of the current state of affairs in our New Orleans Sheriff's Office. And I wish you to give him a look. dig into his background and see what it is that you have to do to feel comfortable giving him your vote. And business is war. Protect yourself at all times, and like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the other side.